Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on what will be a very interesting discussion with respect to sustainability, something that we care very much about in the world, and mining, something that we absolutely need in the world, quite frankly. As introduced by the lovely Catherine Clark, I'm Lisa Raitt. This is Kevin Kimm. He's the president and CEO of OCP North America, and we're going to talk a little bit about fertilizer. Now, being a former politician, you could accuse me of shoveling a lot of fertilizer in my time, but nonetheless, today we'll talk about the real stuff. But before I dive into that, Kevin, I want to say, is this your first time in Toronto?
No, I've been in Toronto 4 to 5 times.
And you're from Minnesota.
That is correct.
So Toronto's known for two things. It's known for its traffic. How was it?
It's okay. Average.
I'll take average. Wow, I'll take that any day. But more importantly, Kevin, do you support the Toronto Maple Leafs?
You know, people always say I got a wild side to me, so I have to. I'm a Minnesota Wild fan, NHL. I have to say that.
That's a good one. I appreciate that. Well, welcome to Toronto, and thanks very much for joining us here today at the Toronto Global Forum. I think perhaps a lot of people may be wondering, what is OCP North America? Which is odd considering what a big player OCP is and how important it is in the world to this space, this sector. Tell us a little bit about OCP North America.
Absolutely. OCP North America, we're focused on Canada, United States, and Mexico. And it's really two critical markets for us. Is we produce fertilizer, phosphates, but I think what's really important, we're custodians of over 70% of the world's ore out of Morocco. That's where we do our production. With that comes a great responsibility to ensure that we provide farmers, the men and women that are raising the important food and the quality for the global system, fertilizers. So OCP North America, we're not only focused on just fertilizer and soil nutrition, it's also research and development. So we do a lot of work with universities in Canada, with Manitoba, Laval, Miguel, just to name a few. So research and development is the future for us.
That's really cool. And how do you serve the Canadian market? What's your Canadian market look like?
So our Canadian market, when it comes to soil nutrition, we've got Western Canada, which is about a 1.6 million metric ton market, and then Eastern Canada, around 550,000. And as we bring products into Canada, we come through NOLA, Louisiana, through the Mississippi for the western part of Canada, and then the Eastern, we actually import vessels into, Eastern Canada. And using waterways, transportation is great from a carbon perspective, and it's the best mode of transportation globally today.
It's very true. Being a former harbor master here in the port of Toronto, I would agree with you. I am curious, though, when you talk about how many tons there are in Canada, what's the production of OCP in general, though? I mean, it's a massive amount of rock that you're utilizing. Absolutely.
Our production is roughly 12, with capacity up to 13 million metric tons. And to put that in perspective, we have the largest single-site production facility in the world out of Morocco. We use a slurry line from our mining operation, from a gravity-fed situation, and we're really focused on the future of sustainability, making sure that we take that 70% of the capacity from a global ore perspective and utilize that for decades to come through less application efficiencies and technologies, because you cannot create more phosphate ore. It's what Mother Nature's provided us to live off for decades to come.
Yeah, and OCP was founded many years ago. It's 1920, I believe.
That's correct.
It's been around for a long time. But North America venture is around since?
Yeah, so we established in North America in 2019, Lisa, and you may say, why? We wanted to get very close to the end consumer, and that's the farmer. You know, the men and women that are running businesses, P&Ls. How do we get to know their pain points or the technology that they need to produce a crop more effectively, efficiently, and frankly, at a greater rate?
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, but climate change, certainly we see the impacts of it. And we talk about all of it all the time. But one area that we don't talk a lot about is food insecurity. But I know that there's a lot of work being done in your company and in your space of dealing with the challenges, like the two challenges in terms of sustainability. Tell me how you approach these big challenges and what your input is to the rest of the world.
That's a great question, Lisa. You know, the food security it's a real issue. Through my career, I spent 3 years living in India, used to run the country of China, and you can see what food insecurity is a major issue. How we're actually combating that is we know by 2050, 56% of our yields today need to increase to make sure that we feed 10 billion people on this planet. So we have an obligation. Mm-hmm. We're really focused on a couple different things. One, how do we create more food productivity very sustainably to increase capacity? That's really critical. Arable land is not going to increase in the world. So we need to utilize the resource that we have today.
And one thing you mentioned to me before we came on stage is that the 70% of the world's rock ore is what you have coverage for, but it's not like you can make any more of it. It's a diminishing commodity.
Absolutely. So millions and millions of years ago, ore bodies were formed by fossils, et cetera. So what we have in the world today is what we have. So that's why we want to make sure that we're looking at technologies that allow less application with increased nutrient uptake and extend the life of that reserve. Phosphates is a critical mineral. Then you have nitrogen, then you have potash. So your NPKs are the three critical minerals from a fertilizer perspective that help produce the food that we eat today.
Yeah. Your company has been really vocal in terms of indicating what it plans on doing in sustainability. So you are not only have you indicated that you want to be net zero by 2040, you also indicated that you want to have water self-sufficiency by 2024. Talk to me about how the goals have been achieved, or not have. How have you set your goals, and what are you doing forward thinking?
So we've set very ambitious targets. We've invested as OCP Group $13 billion on green investments. And really, we have three main platforms. We have solar. And then second platform is our water utilization, desalination objective by using non-traditional water resources by 2026. And we've got a track to get there, and we feel very confident that we'll achieve that. Our third large component is our green hydrogen ammonia plant and facility. And that's what we're very excited about. We have the opportunity by 2026 to produce 200 KT of green ammonia that we'll take into the marketplace. And by 2027, 1 million metric tons. That is phenomenal that we can produce, green fertilizers. And more importantly, as this market emerges, we'll be able to participate in it.
Yeah. So you said that 56% yield increase in order to feed 10 billion people. That's a lot of pressure on a farmer. What kind of innovations do they need to have, and how is OCP helping them get there?
Yeah. So I think farmers, they're very open and they're very direct on things that are working and where the gaps are. What we're doing as OCP is we're working with a lot of different universities in Canada and other parts of the world. We're focusing on customization. And you take a look at traditional fertilizer companies, or more commodity companies, right? You're producing one type of fertilizer for all the different types of soils. So we work across 5 continents. We understand that every soil is different in each continent. How do we develop a customized fertilizer that meets the needs, and it's also applied at the right time, the right place, and the right environment?
I mentioned that company was started in 1921 in Morocco, and for many, many years, it was just that. It was just a company in Morocco, but it's been a lot of diversification, and especially moving into North American space. Are there future plans for further diversification?
Absolutely. So we sell in 5 continents today. We have businesses in several what we call strategic countries as we want to get closer to the farmer. We're also looking at other spaces and other technologies, non-traditional from a fertilizer perspective. We're moving into what we call an industrial and energy section. We're producing PPA. It's purified acid that not only goes into food grade. If you're drinking a Coca-Cola today, it's in that product. It's also going into the future of LFP batteries, the EV sector. That is an opportunity for the organization as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to go back to agriculture for a second. You say that when you say farmers are direct, boy, you've really nailed it. I mean, farmers are an interesting group, but they don't pull their punches without a question. What do you think farmers are looking for from companies like OCP going into the future? How can you help them?
Well, when I talk to a lot of farmers, and I'm a farmer myself, we still have farming operations. I was born and raised in a farming community. Nice. So I take it, to heart. What farmers, I would tell you, men and women today that are farming, they're extremely intelligent above the ground. They know how to select their genetics, their fertilizer application, herbicide applications, harvesting equipment. below the ground is where we can help as a company. And soil health and soil nutrition is critical because every soil is different. It takes years to change the infrastructure of soil. So we're being very pragmatic about that approach. And farmers, they want to increase their soil productivity, not because of just financials. Generations to come of their family members will be living on that property and land, and the soil nutrition and soil health is important to them.
Yeah, what kind of goals do you have for North America?
You know, our goals in North America is to continue to develop new technologies. We're looking at biologicals, we're looking at organics, we're looking at enzymes that actually bring the soil to life, that allows nutrients to be released. If you're an agronomist in the room, you understand that a lot of the soil has nutrients that are tied up. I won't get into the details, positive, negative ions. How do we release the nutrients that are in the soil today, apply less application, and allow the farmer to produce a larger crop as well?
Yeah, you touched on it briefly, but I think it's worth more of a deep dive. Tell me about how you have incorporated sustainability into your actual operations, because to go water self-sufficient, to go 100% renewable electricity, we talk about that in Canada, but it is a challenge, and Canada has so much water in and of itself. So tell me a little bit about how you're implementing these things in the operations.
Well, it all starts at the top. It's the culture. And the beauty of OCP Group is Mr. Traub, our CEO and chairman, has a very strong vision. And not only are we feeding the world, which is a critical component, also sustainably long-term. So the investments that are made, they're strategic, they're large investments, as well as they're very thoughtful investments. As we look at wind and solar, we're blessed being in Morocco, we've got a lot of wind, we've got a lot of solar. So how do we capture and harness that? And how do we ensure that we can provide the European markets, the Japan in the future with green ammonia, hydrogen. So these advanced and growth markets we want to participate in as well.
And when you build renewable solutions around your operations, you're also helping the communities around the operation, I assume.
Absolutely. We are very involved in the communities. You know, the men and women that work for the organization, they take pride in working for the organization. We take pride in giving back to the local community. Regardless of what country or continent it is, we're very committed to that because you grow together. You know, as they always say, you spend more time with your counterpart that you're working with than your own personal family members. So getting to know those individuals and their communities is important to us. What
do you think is the biggest challenge that a company like OCP is facing right now?
You know, I'd say the biggest challenge is really the climate change, the difficulty in predicting what the future looks like. We're seeing more adverse weather, more shortages of water that are impacting the end consumer, which is the critical component is the farmer. So we're trying to use analytics, AI, things that, how do we help predict some of those changes, and how do we create products and solutions that help minimize those impacts globally?
Yeah, so you don't see the need for the good to go out of style.
That's correct.
It's going to be something that more and more people are going to pay attention to. Obviously, the product comes from Morocco and is shipped into, as you said, the East Coast ports and goes in through New Orleans, and it comes up through the Mississippi to the western part of our country. How important are good relations between our two countries, and how are our relations?
You know, Lisa, that's a great question. Relationships are very important, and we're very fortunate that Morocco and Canada have a great relationship, not only just in the agriculture sector, but other sectors as well. As we take a look at, you know, shipping product from Morocco through NOLA, New Orleans, it takes around 14 days to sail. We can bring it up through the river, and it's a very efficient, carbon, low transportation mode. No different than Eastern Canada. We're very reliable. So our relationship with the retailers, the agronomists, the cooperatives, the governments are very critical to us, and they're long-term relationships. It's not transactional. We are there to help support their businesses, and in turn, they're supporting our businesses, and it's more of a partnership.
Yeah, and diversifying your products too for the farmers and for other businesses is important.
It really is. Here's a really good example. You know, we bring in what we call MAP and DAP, which are traditional commodity products. We've also customized some products called brand is TerraTech. It's an MPS product. It's got 2 forms of sulfur. It's got zinc, so it's got micro and macronutrients. We also sell a product called TSP. It's triple superphosphate. Yeah. Why that's important is a lot of farmers now are going to variable rate technology where they're only putting fertilizer down in the fields at a certain rate. that soil texture needs. And other parts of the field might be a heavier or lower application. So it has no nitrogen. And as farmers apply TSP in the fall, they aren't planting their crop till the spring. There's no need to put nitrogen down. So they can apply nitrogen in the springtime. What I like to tell farmers is that we're here to create a portfolio that gives them freedom to operate in the most sustainable way to produce a healthy crop.
Any lessons that the company learns globally that can be applied to Canada?
I would say lessons we've learned is really listen to the most intelligent person in the room, and that's actually the end consumer, and that's the men and women that are farmers themselves. And also listen to your employees. At some of the insights that the individuals have working closely, come up with ideas that are an aha moment, and you change your business model, you change your cycle based on that. So taking risk, and I always say fail fast and succeed by new projects.
Yeah. Morocco had a terrible earthquake in the recent past. Was there any impact on your operations, on your people?
Fortunately, we had no impact in regards to immediate employees or operations. We actually helped financially support those communities. It was a horrific situation, helping them rebuild some of their homes, and more importantly, fortify some of the new technologies from an engineering perspective, where hopefully there's never, that drastic of earthquake, but if there is, and maybe it's a better situation for them in the future.
And OCP is a massive company for Morocco as well, 3.5% of GDP.
Correct.
That's an important number. Last question is your opportunity to tell the audience the last thing that you want them to hear about OCP North America before they go off to lunch.
All right. Well, I'd say, number one, enjoy your lunch, and we're helping produce that food for you. But no, OCP, from a global perspective, we're truly committed to ensuring that we're a reliable, consistent supplier long-term for soil nutrition. And more importantly, I think you've heard today from a sustainability perspective, we're not just dedicated. We've got dollars, we've got boots on the ground, and we're actually making it happen. So we're excited about being part of that journey and from a sustainability perspective.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Kevin Kimm.